join. Let me record it as a backup. We always record as a backup in case the live stream goes down unexpectedly. Wait a second. All right, good.
Right.
You're good.
It's 7:12 p.m. We're beginning the committee meeting for the Education, Culture, and Youth Services Committee. I'm Alex Ellison, chairman of the committee.
And I'm Dear Taylor, member.
Hi, I'm Wendy Hewlett-Betts. I'm a member.
Hi, Wendy.
Hey, Wendy.
Hi. How are you?
Good to see you.
You as well.
Wendy.
So the only item on the agenda is discussing the survey that we've been working on. I thought we could all go through it together. I know some of us have made some edits and suggestions for it. And then the plan would be to send that out to local schools, and hopefully we get some responses. Jeremy, am I able to share my screen? Yeah, I can with this. Okay. Just want to bring it up.
I mean, she's. Yeah, never mind. Go to the top where it says verify to that browser, and then go to should just be open guest profile or
It's letting me sign out.
and that you might be able to share it as a second screen.
Here we go. Let's see. Just created this email today.
You want to tell it to me, and I can send it, add it to that one. What's this new one you just added?
Oh, it's alex.ellefson. ELLEF. That's CV11. Yeah, that one right there.
All right.
Let's try to share this.
Go to a window.
The entire screen.
Oh yeah, you can do that one. And just open back up there. Yeah.
Why isn't it letting me share?
You gotta select it.
Oh,
Yeah.
can everyone see the document?
Yes.
So this is the survey Dear created, and then me and Lisa, made some suggestions, edits. I thought we could sort of go over it together and hopefully come up with a final draft to send out sometime this month to the principals. Um, I mean, Lisa made a note here that question 2 she thought was a little bit vague, I guess maybe as far as like maybe defining what infrastructure is.
Yeah.
I also think that. Go ahead, Wendy. Go ahead, Wendy.
No, I was just thinking because with everything, with the cuts that have happened thus far,
When are you breaking up?
I'm sorry. I'm looking at the question, and then in my head, I have a question regarding the financial state because I know that New York City, from what I understand, Trump has cut some funding. Um, so, as it relates to the infrastructure bill and projects that were in that bill to go forward dealing with the schools, is that still going to happen? But I guess infrastructure here means the programmatic side of it.
I thought it more along the like actual concrete, the brick and mortar side of it. But I think I think to this question in general, and to all these questions, just thinking about what can we feasibly do as a community board. And so if like I don't know if we could contact the buildings department, but I'm sure most principals, if there is an infrastructure issue, that they probably have done that. And so, like, is this question necessarily necessary? Maybe not. And to Trump's cuts, I haven't heard much of anything from Chancellor Ramos on what it's going to look like um, at all. So it could, and I'm not even aware of like what are some of the bigger infrastructure projects in New York City, let alone the one in our district, other than the middle school that's being built.
So like that, so I would be interested in hearing from the school construction authority. I'm sorry. I would like to hear from the school construction authority as to what's in their pipeline and how the infrastructure bill with this new administration is now affected. Um, as it pertains to funding, yeah, I would like to hear from the chancellor. Um, because I have a 2-year old and I would like to put her in school. And if they have cut the funding, that means that parents are going to lose their vouchers, right? What does that mean?
For
Especially in,
3K?
I'm sorry.
For 3K?
For pre-K. So, I would like to know what these local political officials in our area, what are they doing? Because, no one says anything doesn't mean things are not happening. They just don't want the community to know about it per se for fear of issues, right? And the issues meaning their seats. So I think we really need to be on the political officials to answer these questions.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something that, separate from this, we as a committee could investigate, especially if there's, funding cuts, federal funding cuts that are going to affect schools. We could reach out and try to find the answer for that. I mean, for this question, I think we're more interested in finding out from the local schools. I think we're mostly reaching out to elementary through high school level to find out the ways in which we as a community board can help them. So I don't know if federal funding is something that's really like Trump cuts might be too big for us.
So you're talking about discretionary funds then, right? So like for instance, 121. So if we were to speak to the principal and we're like, okay, please provide us your top 5 needs, whether it be laptops, whether it be, a part of the ceiling is leaking in one of the classrooms, um, m- or, is it additional, um, lunch monitors? So more so like that.
I would say no, no, yes, no. So like leaking ceiling, yes, like that would be more of an infrastructure thing that we could potentially work with buildings to do. Computers, laptops, being able to hire. I feel like all of that, especially after the last meeting we had, is really outside of our purview because that's a much bigger piece. So like one of the things that I'm thinking about, for instance, like there's a lot of different grants. There's a ton of different grants that city council and local officials can give to schools. For instance, if I wanted to do a hydroponics lab, there is a grant that schools can apply for, and depending on if they get that grant, there's different levels. Like so, SunWorks is a vendor to get a hydroponics lab. It's approximately $140,000. If I applied for that grant and I got it, then that could be an infrastructure sort of like thing that we could help schools know. Like a Reso A funding is really the grant that I'm talking about. But like if there's different places that schools feel like they would like to like boost up their infrastructure, like are there places that we could support in that? So maybe the question really isn't how would you rate the current state of your infrastructure. Maybe it's uh, could you use grants to add or enhance aspects of your building to better meet the needs of your students, like something more along that. But that's more open ended, and this is. I know we were trying to keep it.
Well, I wonder if it's the question then is, do you think your school needs assistance in or training in applying for grants,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I think that's more so the question because the community board can um, assist by putting in a word or support letter for discretionary funding, right? Because because what's his name? Riley has it. I forgot the name of it. They do it once a year, and then Riley has something. He just did it where voting was, I believe, last Saturday. So there's a way we could do a letter of support. So again, like for instance, if 121 says they need laptops, right? We can do a support letter toward, you know, them submitting an application for discretionary funds. That
Yeah,
would assist in that matter. As it pertains to the infrastructure part, that's why I said we need to have some type of relationship with the school construction authority.
hmm.
Yeah, I feel it's a little. Uh, I don't know how to answer it,
I feel like the answer is going to be yes. Like we know what the answer is going
and
to
I
be.
know that. Well,
But I think,
yeah,
I mean, I think
because
the
yeah,
conversation we're having now is great though, as far as ideas for how we could be a benefit.
yeah.
Like the letter of support, Wendy, it's something we could definitely do that would probably be helpful.
I think if we mean letter of support, then I think we should write. Could your school use a letter of support to procure funds?
Yeah,
Which they would say yes.
yeah. I
But
mean, but
yeah,
part of it is, we also want to inform the schools about how we could, like, it's an opportunity to inform them about what kind of relationship we can have too. So
Yeah, I mean that right there, Alex, you're right. Because previously with this committee, they never did any reach out, right? To schools to, make the connection. Hi, my name is Alex. I'm the chair of, education and culture. That relationship was never met. So if we were able to do that, that goes a long way because, now they feel they're getting comfortable. They could have put a name to a face to say, all right, some, because it's always been, well, if they need us, they can come to us. And it's not about that. It's about we have to go into the community and let folks know that we're here.
Yeah, and I think that's really the main purpose of this. A big part of why we're doing this survey is to get that conversation, that relationship started. Um, sort of understanding what the community board might be able to do for schools and hopefully build that relationship.
Because I also don't want it to turn into a like I'm not writing this grant for them, and I know
Right,
that
right.
there needs to be a level of not even autonomy, like ownership. Like I think it's fine writing a support letter for whatever it is that they want to be able to secure funds for, great, but like I don't think it's our responsibility to go out and like research and find a lot of these different grants for them. I do think it's important for any of the elected officials that show up to our meetings, our full meetings, we could ask them, what are the grants that you have available for schools? And then like that could be part of uh, something that we send to schools.
Right. No, D, this is not about us doing their homework. This is
Yeah,
just
yeah.
about us because part of the application process is getting a support letter from the community board or from whatever committee. So
Mhm.
all we're saying is once we know we have identified your need and as a committee we discuss it,
Yeah.
here's our support letter. Right? But at the same time, it is also our responsibility to charge those elected officials with, are you paying attention to this said school in the district that bathroom is not working?
Uh,
Right? Like it was unacceptable. I give you a great example. It was unacceptable that Parks had to go through a situation where what Zimmerman Park had no functioning bathroom for so many years or whatever the length was, right? And political officials, local political officials were sitting on that. So a group of us, every full board meeting we had, we are like, all right, Riley, your people is on the screen. What's going on? Mayor Rep, your people is on the screen. What's going on? We need an answer because this is unacceptable. Little kids going to the bathroom wherever they're going, unacceptable. And now we hear that they got approved to get that bathroom built. So it is our responsibility to charge those local officials with things.
yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, I think to that point, we should add a question about how good is your relationship with local elected officials, because that's something we could definitely facilitate as well.
Right, right.
Yeah.
How would you rate your-
I think that's fine with elected officials.
Yeah,
Maybe even I can add that in later too. Something I can maybe still.
yeah, I think that would be. Um,
So, she mentions splitting this question up into two. Um, so question 3 was so she wants to split. How would you rate the academic programs available for students at your school? And then how would you rate extracurricular activities available to students at your school? I feel like, go ahead.
I was gonna say, yeah, I just said that we could split it up
Oh,
and to
okay.
kind of get a better feel about how they just to get more detail about how each one of these areas is like um, is doing at the school was sort of my thought.
I am curious how schools will answer for, because I'm just curious, um, especially programs as a whole, how vulnerable people are willing to be, which is like I would add an addendum if we're gonna keep this question in, with just like you can explain your response to whatever, um, to just see what it is if they rate it, their academic programs as being uh, most in need of improvement. Like I keep going back to like what can we do as a board for the academic, like for any of these questions, how can we feasibly support them in this? I like the question. If most principals answered this with no improvement needed, I wouldn't be shocked.
Oh, just to kind of cover themselves.
Hmm.
That's a good point. Um,
Because why would I,
mhm.
a board of folks who I don't necessarily know, kind of goes back to what Wendy was saying. We don't really know our schools and we haven't made a lot of outreach. And so I'm probably not going to answer this question truthfully, or I might answer it truthfully, but like, where do we go from there? But if I don't answer it truthfully and I just say no improvement needed, I think it would be because of the lack of relationship that we've been able to build or we haven't built. But I think I like the question because I think I'm just curious to see how they answer it. The second one, how would you rate your extracurricular activities available for students? I think the same vein, I like it. I feel like both of these are just going to make me want to know more, whether they answer it in the like affirmative or the negative. If they are doing things that are really great or they have resources at their school that other schools can learn from. Like if I don't have room for improvement, but I know that there is a school that like they're saying, yeah, our school is a hot mess and we want to like whatever, I would then want to pair principals up or say, hey, this school has a bunch of extracurriculars. Maybe give that principal a call and see like some of the things that they're doing. Maybe. I don't know. I'm like just trying to like think about if I was in their shoes, what would it mean for them to answer this question? And like what would support look like for them from us?
Well, I'm wondering if we could change the language a little bit then to say like how would you rate the resources available for academic programs or the resources available for extracurricular
Okay.
activities?
I actually like that a lot better. Yeah.
Because yeah, you're right. Like the way it's written now, it's like, do you think your academic programs that you instituted are any good? And they're
Yeah.
probably gonna say yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But that's not the point of the question. The point of this question is like, do you have adequate resources to do what you think that needs to be done
Right.
in this area?
Because if it goes back to the question with funding, if they're like, I don't have the resources for academic programming, like implementation for curriculum is a big deal for elementary and high school math right now, and the rollout has been kind of botched. There hasn't been a whole lot of, let me rephrase, some schools haven't felt the support, they haven't gotten the support that they needed and or deserved, which has led to teachers not really buying into the implementation of programs that they're asked to teach. And if there was more funds available for schools to buy extra professional development days and or have people come in to work one-on-one as a coach with their teachers, then like that could meet the needs of that academic programs question. And then like we could, okay, what elected official could you then speak to that has funds slated for something in that genre where they could say, okay, we can give you $5,000 for someone to come in and do some extra PD work with you.
Mhm. I mean, is that something even we can really help with?
Us, no.
Yeah.
It would be, I think, more than anything, connecting principals with other principals. But like, I know in my district, all of my principals get together once a month.
Mm.
every other month in person, every other month they get together by borough. And even being in meetings with people for the last couple of years, there are principals that have never spoken to each other. They have no idea, even in the same borough, what other schools are doing, because in these meetings, most of the time, people are just talking at you. And so this could be a potential for if someone is feeling open and honest enough to say, yeah, like my resources are, not great, but another person to say, you know, I think this would allow us to reach out to them more to then see what they are doing that's working, and even get into the question we had last meeting. Like if there is something that a principal is doing that's really successful, and we're talking about like teacher retention, like I think it could blossom into a bunch of other things that we've talked about briefly that could just be helpful to know and to explain to elected officials. Even I'm not advocating to keep them or not. I'm just and I'm a lot of
Yeah, no, I mean that's
I don't want to
interesting
take this
that
down a rabbit hole.
how it's
Right.
going to be perceived potentially. You know?
Alex, D. I just want to address something that's in the chat.
Yeah.
So yes, reports are done, and that's fine. That's one way, but the other way is to also speak to individuals, because sometimes when we are doing report, we tend not we tend not to be 100% honest. So if we develop a relationship with a principal, assistant principal, or a director of special education, you're going to learn a little bit more than you would learn in a report.
Yeah.
So yes, there is a report. That's a tool. But there's also other ways to do proper research.
And just with those reports, not for anything, there's rubrics attached to everything, but like
Absolutely.
everyone has a bias. And depending
Absolutely.
on that relationship that you have with any, like you can go to Inside Schools, you can go to a plethora of different platforms that list the good, the bad, and the ugly of our schools. But like that's only telling one particular picture. And like you were saying, being in the school, talking to principals, and getting an idea of like, oh, like this is what's actually happening, as opposed to just reading on a report, is going to give you just a lot more information. And I'm not
Absolutely.
saying
You can put anything in a report.
yeah, but I wouldn't mind visiting at least a couple of our schools and meeting with some of our principals to get an idea of.
The other thing I would add is in that bullet point that you guys have,
Mhm.
Which number.
it did, I think are we up to 4 or 5?
We're kind of on both.
4?
4
Yeah.
and 5.
We're on both. I didn't see special education in there.
How would you rate? You said rate the resources or academic.
Yeah.
How would you rate?
Because I know at one point, like there was a shortage with speech teachers or OT. Like it wasn't consistent.
Wendy, it's
Um,
shortage. It's still a shortage everywhere.
it's still, oh my God, and my son was a baby when that happened, and he's 15. So yeah,
it's still rough out here. Sadly, no one wants to go in the profession anymore. It's yeah.
There's definitely a need for speech PT, OT in the schools.
Yeah, agreed.
Is that something that we as a community board would be able to help with? I mean, if it's
I think we could start asking questions, like especially in our district, and District 11 was one of the districts that were, back in the days, was like the creme de la creme, right? Everyone, every parent wanted their child to go to a District 11 school. Now it's not that. So I think I would be interested to know why are these serving, because the Board of Ed promises, they make it seem like all the resources are there, but the question becomes, are they really there?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, could we add a question like this?
Where are you at, Alex? You're on number 6?
Just below it. How
Okay.
are the resources available for special education at your school?
That's a good opener.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be interested in knowing the answer to that.
Alex? Alex, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, sorry, I'm trying to do it from my phone. Not every school has special ed, so maybe add, does your school have special education services? Are you meaning like just like a ICT class or like a D75 program?
I'm thinking of all of it, not just D75, not just ICT, but even if I'm a student that isn't, if I need,
Speech or just an
yeah,
extra service like resource room or,
yeah. And we know there's tons of kids that don't have IEPs that still
Right.
benefit from those sources. Oh, I could have copy and pasted that. Sorry, Alex.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, for some reason it wasn't letting me. But yeah, I think adding that question would be helpful.
How would you rate the resources available for special education at your school, comma, if students, something like that,
Okay.
just to make it more open-ended. So new 7, I safety. I take keep 7. This new 8. How would you rate your school's safety and security? That feels a bit loaded to me.
I mean, I added that because, we do work with the 49th precinct. And so, we have relationships with local police. So again, it's sort of like, we were first having this conversation, we're imagining ways that the work of the entire community board might intersect with the needs of the school. So if they have a problem communicating with local police on issues, or if they need a better relationship with, maybe we could put kind of like, how would you rate your school's relationship with the local police precinct is kind of what I'm looking for.
Yeah, that's good. I
Yeah.
like to do that. Yeah.
Oh. Oh, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
How would you rate your students' access to technology and resources at your school?
Well, and then maybe for 8, we just change it to good, fair. Like, what do we have before? Excellent, good, fair, poor.
Excellent. I'll take it. Yeah. And for I think we should get rid of 9.
Yeah.
Only because
I mean, it does kind of, the answer to that is sort of our question about like help with grants or funding. Like that's really what the only way we'd be able to assist with that anyway. Right? It's kind of redundant.
yeah. Let me see. What do we have here? Your resources for the program. I mean, okay, we can keep it in.
Oh, we can take it out.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, is your issue that you just feel like they're not going to answer it?
No, I just think everyone's gonna be like, needs improvement. Why not? We can. Every school can always use more laptops, more iPads, more.
Mm.
And I think my only issue with it just comes back to things becoming obsolete. And I know that our kids need them. Like the amount of iPads, assistive technology I've had to buy for the city over the last 3 years is astronomical. Like hundreds of thousands of iPads because kids break them, kids lose them, you know.
Or
Um,
do you want to frame it in a way where it's more of the strength of the internet?
huh,
Why is this on?
What do you mean?
like
Like how
Wi-Fi.
strong the Wi-Fi, how strong is the Wi-Fi connections, the malware, security features, things of that nature. Because like you said, things are changing, right? So we just want to make sure um that all the schools are keeping up to date with that. Like in college, we know the minute something new comes about, computers, everything starts to change. But does that necessarily happen in the lower schools?
Just to name, they're the it's called DIT for the DOE,
Okay.
and they do keep like the way that all of our laptops are imaged. They're constantly updated with to the annoyance of maybe me of just because I'm working all the time with computers. But there's a lot of safety and security in our devices, almost to a detriment because of all the imaging that happens for security purposes. Like I know you could probably talk a little bit to this, Liz, about like how difficult, like if I'm a particular educator and there's programs that I want to put on an iPad, because they're all now basically locked down, you can't add, if it's not already imaged on the iPad, you can't buy it. You'd have to then contact someone from information technology to like basically jailbreak the device so that you can then add in your information so you can buy it with like your own funds from the Google store. So like the security piece, I think is top notch. I think they do a really, really good job. The Wi-Fi thing also is under their purview. And so I think connectivity is a good thing to know, especially because all of our schools are multiple devices. Post pandemic, uh, I just wouldn't be surprised if most people also said no. But I think we should keep, if we're talking just about the connectivity, I think it's a good question. So that way we know we could work with the IT and like buildings department or like point them in the right direction. But for the security piece on any device, it's like, it's crazy in a good way.
Okay. So do you think we should just ask about the Wi-Fi connectivity then?
I think we can. I think we can.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we can. I've been to numerous schools. Dear, I'm sure you've been to numerous schools. I've never really had a problem connecting.
I always carry a hotspot
Okay.
for that reason, just in case.
Yeah, I've never really had a problem, but I mean, I haven't been to all of the schools, so there definitely could be schools that have difficulty connecting because there is so much technology in the school. So, if there's too many iPads or too many laptops being used, is that a
Yeah.
problem?
I'd say the thing I noticed most with technology is that smart boards don't work. And
Oh, okay.
boards, Promethean boards, and then there's this whole other tier of boards I've never heard of. I see in classrooms, and they are just junk. But like because of buildings with asbestos, getting them removed or even like trying to update or replace, it's like a whole. It's like that is a barrier. I know schools wish that they could eliminate, and I don't know if that to us that feels more like a like, how do you deal with someone who's saying, no, we can't take out this old Promethean board because behind it is asbestos. And so you got to wait until we get cleared. And that clearance can take, I have a school right now waiting for 3 years to have, they've had the smart boards, but they can't get them they can't get them put up because of buildings are saying, no, we have to wait.
Oh,
And I don't know how to ask that question because that feels kind of above us, but it is it's a huge issue.
I mean, I kind of feel like then we could put it like this,
Energy infrastructure.
and then like it's like why it would be like teaching technology, right?
Uh,
Right? Because I don't know. I'm kind of interested in
Okay.
knowing that. Yeah, I don't know how we would help. But I guess just sort of we can sort of work behind the scenes to maybe find the right person to move something like that along. But that's crazy that you felt like this
It's wild.
They-
It's so sad.
great piece of technological equipment. You can't do it because
Yeah.
the like one department can't. I don't know. Yeah,
It's a lot of red tape. It's a
Yeah.
lot of like the bureaucracy within the bureaucracy itself is really frustrating.
but that's something that we may be able to help with because we do have relationships with people,
True. Yeah.
or we have relationships with people who have relationships with people. And my experience with bureaucracy is a lot of times it's just a matter of knowing who the right person is.
Yeah.
So maybe we could help with that.
Okay.
So leave it like that.
Yeah, I might tinker with the teaching technology, just have it be a little bit more specific. Outside of like computers, laptops, iPads, to speak more to uh like instructional technology. Maybe
Hmm.
maybe instructional technology.
Okay.
Maybe be a little bit more leading. Instructional.
Yeah, that's probably.
We said yes to 10, right? Keep that.
Mhm.
I'll just go back to public safety law enforcement relationship. How do we switch that?
Oh, is
Wait,
that what
did
we
we add
already
it?
asked for 8?
Yeah, how would you rate the local? So maybe
We just take it out,
yeah.
right? Didn't you have a strike through button?
Oh yeah, I got it. This 11, right?
Yeah.
Fair enough. 10, how would you describe your safety transportation around your school? Do we want to keep that safety and transportation around school? Yeah, I think that's good. I speak to some of the things we talk. What are some community resources students would benefit most from increased investment? I like that question. Park, sports village, community activity centers. And that speaks to what Ryan's group kind of came and talked about, especially the community centers, performance spaces. What issues outside of school are most negatively impacting students' housing? Uh, 13's
Keep it. I'm just trying to get information.
yeah,
you know?
it's no. Hey,
But I mean,
most negatively impacting.
are most impacting students?
Yeah, yes, most impacting.
That's an interesting question, as that would come more so from the guidance counselor, right? Or um, whatever support staff. What support staff does the schools have that would know this?
I think you're right. Most of the guidance.
I mean, sometimes it's teachers too who just
Yeah,
are aware
also
of
true.
issues affecting their students.
Yeah.
True, true.
Your classroom teacher.
Yeah.
Mm.
Do you think we should leave it in?
I'm not
Yeah,
against
for
it.
me, I think it's important.
Okay. Um, are are the options good? Should they change? Should we add anything?
I don't even know if I would put options. I would probably, for me,
Have
I
it
would
be
want to hear from, yeah, I would want to hear from them. Um, Only because I'm remembering like in East Harlem where we had a situation where a lot of kids from the homeless shelters were within the school system. And that's when the schools started to purchase like washing machines and dryers because they
mm,
found that a lot of students were missing school because, they didn't have adequate clothing to wear or whatever the case may be. And they would literally wash the clothes right then and there for the kids. So,
I like that. I like that. Yeah. And it's gonna definitely vary depending on grade band.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. So yeah, keep that open ended.
Okay.
Um, so I think this. I think we can get rid of 4.
Just leave it. Take it out.
Yeah. How important is support and grant? I think I think we should take out 5 because of we're not going to write it for them.
Right.
They can figure it out. They've got AI chat. They've got plethora of resources to help them write grants. I don't
Right.
think
And the principal should know. She should be aware. He or she should be aware.
they should. They should be. I hate grant writing. It's terrible. It's so time consuming. How effective is your school at connecting with elected officials to address its needs?
Didn't we already ask that? Yeah.
We asked, what's
Yeah,
your
I think that
relation
was in the very beginning. We kind of talked about that.
to schools? Yeah. And this is saying how a little bit. Copy it. And maybe. But yeah, figure out. And then please describe any specific challenges your school is facing that were not covered. But like we keep that in,
Yeah, I think so.
and then what questions do you have for addressing? Maybe how can the community board support your school? Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll just add that for this question. Okay.
Um, okay. Is there anything else that we want to add?
Wendy,
No,
you want
I
me to
think
add?
you actually covered it all. This is a great start.
Yeah, and I hope I think part of what we want is just to start the conversation, and foster engagement, and hopefully then we can, come up with get really more specific ways that we could be of assistance.
Yeah.
Looking-
Wendy, do you have my email? If you do, can you email me your email so I can add you to this document just so that if you want to be added to
Sure.
it.
Yeah, because I know I asked for access, but my Gmail was under my aunt's name, so I'll do that. I'll just
Okay.
use my grad school email.
Okay. I suggest being more careful with the answer choice in particular questions. For example, how would you rate your schools? Can you scroll down on that one? The relationship with local police. School has no relationship with local police just because there's no need for one of them. I don't think that's a bad thing. If they say no improvement, like, oh my God, there's no improvement needed. Uh,
Well, we could change it to like good, excellent, good, fair.
or we could make it open ended and they can just answer it.
Yeah, I mean, I listen, I don't give any slack to the 4-9 or any precinct because they're within the community. They should be abreast on the schools and within the area. And there's a community department within the precinct. And so part of, huh?
I didn't say anything.
And so part of that meaning they have to connect with the community, right?
Yeah.
So they should be aware of, you know, if a school is, on the high end of let me pay attention or the low end of paying attention. But I should be able to go to said individual within the precinct to be able to ask them a question and they should be able to answer it correctly. So that's not an excuse. They have a community department for a reason.
Yeah, true. I'm gonna change it to a Likert scale so they can just on a sliding scale answer their question, and then we can keep it open ended for if they want to describe if it is no improvement needed, then they can say there's no issue, so therefore we don't contact them. But that way, it gives them more,
Okay.
so we can keep
And we could just add like additional comments
yeah.
like that. Yeah, I wasn't able to see the chat while had this open, so I'm just looking at the chat now.
You want to generate from
I recommend reaching out to the teacher. Okay.
But I'll say every chapter leader is not necessarily. I'd like to hear more about that.
Yeah.
From if you are willing, community board 11 constituent, just because every school personnel is going to have a different story to tell, and know that there are different relationships. Principals have different relationships with different UFT reps, and this isn't to say that all UFT reps are good or bad, or all principals are good or bad, but that there's a difference, and I don't want to just know the perspective of teachers. I want to know the perspective of multiple people. So, in order to get into that building, if we're doing actual like site visits, it's got to be the principal, because the principal they're going to say yes or no. Not against talking to UFT though, but
Well, also, I mean, just going off that, it would be interesting to try to build relationships with the PTA, school PTAs too, because they're also people who live in the district.
Relationship with
yeah,
I'd love to have UFT folks on the board. We got one. We got Susie. We got Liz.
Yeah, Lisa's UFT, right?
Lisa, correct me.
That's okay.
Lisa.
You were close.
Yeah,
I think Alex brought it up that PTA would be an excellent idea because I think parents have a very different perspective than teachers, principals, APs.
Yeah. Very true.
Yeah.
Also, the school parent liaison. She knows all the parents, children, community board.
Yeah. I mean, for example, I know Susie's very involved in all kinds of different activities. So, Yeah.
Counselor, social worker. I also want to be cognizant of the amount of schools that we have in our district. I think we had what 30.
There's a lot. Yeah.
And there's a lot more elementary schools, obviously, than there are high school. But I'm like, I think we really should talk about what grade band we want to target, because I think realistically we can't do site visits of all 30 or however many
Yeah.
schools are in our district. I think that's going to be really challenging, especially with folks.
Well, part of this too is, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if not every person we emailed the survey to responded.
Oh, true.
And so we the way I see it is seeing who responds, how they respond, and then based off of that, you know, trying to build a relationship.
Yeah, I agree.
So, you know, I mean, I think, you know, the first step is I think we have a great survey, send it out, see who responds, and then, you know, go from there. And then, you know, based on how that goes, I do like the idea of someday reaching out to PTAs and teachers, as well, and, you know, building those relationships too. Well, you know, we could start here for now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, but I mean, I think we have a great survey. I'm very happy with it. I don't know if so, you know, there's nothing else that we should add.
Let me add to our notes. This is this is the Lisa and CB alleged constituent. And then I'll put it in a Google form, and then I'll just reshare so people can have it and do any final look throughs.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Next.
Okay. Well, since we're finished with that, I guess next we'll move on to the gallery session. So I see we have some people appearing virtually. I don't know if Community Board 11 constituent, did you want to speak as part of the gallery? Kay Cardona, did you want to speak in the gallery session?
Hi, I just recently acquired the hand raise feature, so I'm on my phone. Thanks so much. I wanted to thank you guys so much for all the effort and caring that you put into this committee. I know some of you serve on other committees too. It's really interesting to just see how much like energy and thought you put into everything that you do. That being said, years ago, not just as a parent, like my youngest child, the only living child I have is 32, but as a parent, I know what I went through in two different eras, raising two different kids and the different issues with schools and stuff. I also worked in a couple of schools years ago. Two of them was in an after school, and one was a small little private Hebrew school and stuff. And I'm going to tell you, there is no one, no staff member at any school, whether it's school safety, the kitchen staff, teachers, paras, it doesn't matter who they are, the school nurse, they see and they hear. All right, they hear the heartbeat of the school population, parents, children, other issues and people that come along with each child. So yeah, they would have a very good idea what's going on with the student population and what's going on in the community. Because you can have a place like 2910 Wallace Avenue. That complex there, due to ownership and management, many years ago, had a tenants association. There's all these broad issues going on, and the parents and the kids have to go to school every day, and then they suffer a really tragic event like that fire, and it just throws everything into chaos, and that reflects on the kids, on the parents, and the staff at the schools that are dealing with these kids. So yeah, it's really important that all staff members, have a chance to, like, not necessarily with you guys, but to discuss with the principal or whoever's going to go over this thing that you're sending to them so that they can do input. As far as the precinct is concerned, there's community affairs, but there are also NCOs. The NCOs, I guess they basically deal with crime issues, but they also deal with other, like, quality of life kind of things too. So I suppose the people at the schools could reach out to them too, because the NCOs would be probably the first to respond to anything like, let's say, the school by Bronxdale, they're having issues with the bike lane. They feel it's like not safe for the kids because the bike lane is right there at the curb where cars would normally be parking. So they would probably be the ones to deal with something like that. And there's also a school in Brooklyn that the same thing happened, but a couple of kids got hit by people on bicycles. It wasn't the rider's fault. It's just that kids tend to have like these knee-jerk reactions when they're, it's the end of the day. They can't wait to get out of school, and they just maybe are not looking both ways when stepping out, and they accidentally get hit. So yeah, I think that there are safety issues and stuff too. So maybe including if they have any school safety officers at any of these schools in our area, maybe reaching out to them too, because they see things too that might be important. But that being said, just a couple of little suggestions, not to, but I just thought I would put that out there. Anyway, I just wanted to thank you guys so much for all you do and have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kay.
Yeah, thank you.
Do you want to be named in the minutes or no? I'll just
I'm
name
sorry,
you
me?
Miss C, if you're
Oh,
okay with it.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I was talking to you.
I'm sorry. It's my stupid finger keeps. You could put me in if you like, because I've been doing all sorts of stuff, organizing and activist stuff, and I've served in several community groups here for like 32 years already. So yeah, feel free to, yeah, if you like. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you, Kay.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, I think that's everyone online who could speak at the gallery. Any old business to bring up? New business?
Just gotta get the meeting minutes.
Yeah.
We will have up to 3 now that just need approved by whoever, but they're done.
Thanks.
So feel free to look at them.
Yeah.
Add to them.
Oh, well.
But the meeting minutes we're all good.
Okay.
Introductions.
In that case, I move to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Anyone opposed? All right. Meeting adjourns at 8:16 p.m.
8:16. Meeting adjourned.
Have a good night, everyone.
Have a good night.
Two.
Good seeing
Bye-bye.
y'all.